Well, it's what 50 Cent puts in their minds. You know, every person has their own thinking of how things are. Most artists, most musicians you see from Africa have dreams, and these are dreams to be one day like a big star known by the whole world. You don't want to just be known by Africa. You want to be known by Japanese, Chinese, Americans, the British. You just want to be known by the whole world. And the question while you're in the studio, you're like, why is it that 50 Cent is so big and I'm so small? And when you hear most of the songs, they're like not real big content in there.
Not real.
Big content in there. So someone is going to sing about this is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. I'm hot because you're not. I mean, I wouldn't sing that, but he sings it and it works the whole world.
It's important to look at the market and see where the gap is, where your style can fit in and what you can bring. You know, it's like you're going to a dinner party, you're supposed to bring a dish. You're not just going to look what everyone else is bringing and bring the same dish. You know, you've got to like think, okay, he's bringing that, she's bringing that, let me bring something else. And there's already a 50 Cent, there's already a Rihanna, you know, there's already that sort of, that look. And yeah, you know, it can work because obviously it's a formula that does work, but also it's like every so often you get like someone who breaks the boundaries, like your Tracy Chapman, like your Lauryn Hills, who are like, you know, and they're the real quality artists that come through and stay, you know, for a long time and get shown to children, to children's children.
It goes to government policy because as a child, you go to school, and when I was in school as a kid, you couldn't speak your mother tongue because there was always the assumption that if you're speaking your mother tongue, you're not learning English. If you're not learning English, you're not going to pass your papers. If you don't pass your papers, you're not going to advance to the next level, and you won't get a job eventually. So they're always forcing people and ramming it down their throats. And this sort of sidelined cultural issues, the cultural agenda. If you don't learn your culture at home, if you didn't have the opportunity to learn your culture at home, then it's just lost forever.
If we look at African music, my worry would be that the musicians here don't seem to have any sense of their thousands of year old tradition of music. I mean, African music is as deep and as rich. Well, it's where one half of music started. The other half was in Persia, which is Indian music. And African music's a whole elusive language, which I've been trying to learn about for the last 20 years, and I'm still learning. And I'm disappointed that the younger Africans don't seem to have any idea of that. They seem to be interested in copying what's happening in the West. And there is this theory that just as we in the West have become interested in African music, our culture and our machines are eroding what's beautiful about that music. And it's becoming watered down by our music and our culture and our machines.
What they see on the TV, which statistics may say they spend like 5 hours per day watching, they grow up seeing the pop musicians, seeing those ones. They don't get to go to the squares or go to performances where they will see African music. So they grow up not knowing what their culture and music even sounds like.
If I should say something to the African musicians, it's like they should come together. Yeah. Back home, everybody's trying to do his stuff alone. Yeah. We need to come together to put the knowledge together and also the finance together. If we come together, we can better organize concerts and it'll be easy to get the stuff to the market. Yeah, we just need to come together, and we also need to learn more. Back home, we find so many musicians uneducated in music. Yeah, they're doing it more for the fashion than for the art. Yeah, back home we're doing it more for the fashion than for the art. That's why back home you find hip hop, they just want to do like 50 Cent. Yeah, and when I come out try to say I want to do my music on African rhythms, they kind of saying, what's that? It's primitive. Yeah, there's this irony on the notion of civilization. Yeah, we think what is West is best. Yeah.
What's quite amusing is that a lot of artists like Timbaland and those big producers actually use, and Missy, use a lot of African sounds, African drums, and it's like we just don't really know about it, you know. So that's one thing. There's like a huge reference to African music within the hip hop culture and within like Western so-called music.
Technology has its good and bad points in the sense that it's made it very easy to make beats, to make music, and don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of good music that's come out of that technology. So there's two schools of thought, two schools of use, people who combine the two. But I think it's been a disadvantage for a generation who've lived with technology and they haven't experienced or had a chance to actually learn to play an instrument, and I think that can be a bad thing for music.
It worries me generally that with the youth culture that music has become less about taking part as a group together, and it's become more of an isolated thing where you just do your own thing with a computer. And music as I know it has always been a musical conversation. And what other people have done and played has changed the way I play. That's what I'm interested in, is different musical experiences. And those music experiences can't come from within, they come from outside, from somebody else playing something that might make me play differently.
Where I come from, I think technology is good because, I mean, it just makes us able to participate. Because when the technology comes, it's cheaper. And therefore, we can also participate in the process. You know, when it used to be 16 millimeters, 35, I mean, we got to a time we're not making films because too expensive to shoot, too expensive to process. Video came and opened the doors for us again. And so I think that in some sense, technology is good. But my only problem with technology is that we tend to dwell on it too much to find solutions to a creative process. And rather than do most of the creativity, I mean, think creative, we want to fix it in post. So we just go shoot stuff and then use technology and effects just to make it beautiful. And I think that's the only problem, that if people do not have a grasp on their craft and get exposed to technology, they tend to lose that thing. They become very good mechanics and very good technicians, but lose what is central to our trade, creativity. When you're coming to Africa, you have to understand it's a different region, so you do your business differently there. So when telecommunications companies came, mobile phone companies, when they started up, say 10 years ago, it used to be very expensive. But to get to the mass market, they had to cut their prices. And once they did, they started making money and they became really profitable. They make billions of pounds a year. Software companies, on the other hand, just don't seem to be borrowing a leaf from their telecommunications counterparts. They are so stubborn and they just don't seem to want to meet us halfway. Yet they're going to complain about piracy. I just wish that somehow they would consider that there are people out there who want to get legitimate copies of the software that they have, but just can't because it's too expensive, quite frankly.
I think and I feel this rush of thousands and millions of images of movies and stills during the day makes one lose his sensitivity towards these pictures and the concept behind them and the real story being behind them. And as I said and told you yesterday, that when I was a child, I remember in Sudan, in the news, in the television, they bring photos which from a week ago or 5 days about kidnapping a aeroplane, or in demonstrations, a soldier slashing a guy. These were things very hard to me to see, and I couldn't sleep, and my conscience was built by having these scenes. But now I can easily sit down and see people also making this, having coffee or having any drink and eating a sandwich or a pizza, and seeing someone killed or slaughtered in anywhere in the world, or even seeing um, this houses being attacked by big bulldozers, and it goes on normally. And tomorrow I will see something again different. It began to be a kind of excitement and entertainment.
In some respects, I mean, how many images do we see per day? You know, millions, thousands, you know, in a lifetime, billions. So we're constantly exposed to stuff, but does that exposure make you see more what you like or less? I don't know, it can work either way. You know, maybe the more images you're exposed to, the more you know what you don't like, or the less you know what you like. I don't know how it works. You know, personally, I don't really have an issue with the kind of global exposure, as long as it's being used in the right way, as long as it's not being used as some sort of media propaganda or to sort of pollute people's minds in the wrong direction.
I have many friends, and I can see this in Sudan, in internet cafes, that there are folders in the computer, porn folders and folders for killing and for accidents, and guys are just sitting and having fun by watching this. The most painful thing is that now everything is mixed and there are no borders between things. You can say that, for example, what happens in Iraq is a part of the Great War against terrorism, and then you find that those people who killed Saddam are wearing the same masks of the terrorists, the same way, and he was killed by the same words, and you can't know who kills who. Or I think the same people kill the same people everywhere and every time. There are no difference now.